Did you ever hear of Kong?
In the early years of the Great Depression, writer, director, and expeditionist Merian C. Cooper was shopping around ideas for a new film. Given his past experiences studying tribes of baboons in Africa, Cooper developed a fascination with apes. After reading W. Douglas Burden's The Dragon Lizards of Komodo, he envisioned a scenario depicting a gorilla battling a Komodo dragon. Cooper took his concept to Paramount Pictures, but executives shot down the idea of a film that would require expensive on-location shoots in Africa and Komodo. In 1931, Cooper became David Selznick's executive assistant at RKO Pictures and began production for a film adaptation of the short story The Most Dangerous Game, in which a huge jungle stage set was being built for. Cooper then began to focus on a film called Creation, about a group of travelers shipwrecked on an island full of dinosaurs, which were being animated by none other than special effects genius Willis O'Brien. When Cooper saw footage of Creation, he realized that O'Brien could bring his idea to life through stop-motion animation, and scrap location shoots in favor of the existing jungle set. RKO was cautious about the idea, but the company was also on the verge of bankruptcy, so the decision was made to cancel Creation and begin work on Cooper's new movie. When coming up with concept art for the film, O'Brien thought the gorilla Cooper had in mind would be much scarier if it were bigger than a normal one. It was this decision that ultimately gave birth to the giant monster movie genre. During production, the film would see many script revisions and different titles, but ended up as what we now know today as King Kong, a quintessential fantasy adventure that shaped and influenced the future of motion pictures forever. The movie tells a simple yet effective story about filmmaker Carl Denham, who is looking for a leading woman in his new picture to be shot on an uncharted island. He comes across struggling actress Ann Darrow and offers her the role, in which she accepts with almost no hesitation. From then on, the two of them set sail with Captain Englehorn, first mate Jack Driscoll, and the rest of the crew on the venture for a mysterious place known as Skull Island. Once our characters arrive on Skull Island, they bear witness to a ceremonial gathering of natives, who quickly spot Denham and his crew. Some of the natives later sneak onto the venture and kidnap Anne to be sacrificed to their god, Kong himself, who seems to have an insatiable affinity for blonde women. Jack Driscoll, Carl Denham, and the rest of the crew journey into an unknown world filled with deadly beasts at every turn in order to rescue Anne from the colossal primate king. It cannot be said enough how monumental the original King Kong is. Not only is it a film that spawned the giant monster movie genre, it was the first legitimate blockbuster of its time. Kong busted the doors wide open, captivating the minds of audiences across the globe. The amount of influence King Kong had is almost immeasurable. E.G. Subaraya, Ray Harryhausen, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, Peter Jackson, and many more would probably not have gone on to create the films they did had they never seen Kong. And to this day, there still hasn't been a remake or imitation that has captured the magic quite like the original. Although King Kong is almost a century old, it still stands the test of time as a technical marvel that raised the bar for visual effects by utilizing revolutionary techniques. Willis O'Brien's creations are seamlessly animated over lavishly detailed set pieces, which are brought to life with gorgeous matte paintings and layers of projection, giving every scene the amount of depth needed to enrapture the viewer. Crafted just as well as the effects is the story, which takes the perfect amount of time to build tension for what's to come. So when chaos ensues, each moment has the right amount of impact. And once things are set in motion, the pace does not let up, taking the viewer from one enthralling sequence to the next. Main characters played by Robert Armstrong, Bruce Cabot, and Fay Wray are well developed with fleshed out arcs. Carl Denham, who is a rather obvious stand-in for Merian C. Cooper, plays a cocky yet driven director with a vision. Even though his pursuits manage to get many of his comrades killed, he realizes the error of his ways by the end of the film. Jack Driscoll is introduced as an arrogant chauvinist, but slowly becomes more endearing as he thrusts himself into danger for the greater good. And while Ann Darrow's character is now an outdated damsel in distress archetype, she captivates and steals every scene that she's in. Kong himself is just as much of a fully realized character as the rest of the human cast. Through the means of stop-motion animation, the beast is given an incredibly wide range of emotion, successfully making Kong a formidable antagonist that the audience can also sympathize with. All of these performances and visuals are masterfully elevated by Max Steiner's classic score and sound design pioneer Murray Spivak. King Kong was one of the first movies that really used music to complement the action on screen, which makes this fantastic adventure all the more exciting. And Spivak's sound design gives Kong and the rest of the beasts on the island a voice, making them believable creatures. For all of the wonderful things there are to be said about King Kong, The misogynistic and racial stereotypes on display are impossible to ignore in this day and age, most notably the dated gender roles and portrayal of indigenous people at the time. While it is hard to fault a movie made in the 1930s for such reasons, it is important to acknowledge these issues and view the film as a historic artifact, but also a work of art. All things considered, the impact and importance of King Kong in the world of film is simply undeniable. It is practically a miracle that a movie as profound as this one came out in the Great Depression of all times. Even with all the advancements that have been made in the industry, their origins still date back to Kong. And so much of what we enjoy in film today, we still owe to the king of Skull Island. For all things giant monsters and Japanese science fiction, subscribe and stay tuned to Black Hole Planet.